Alright Spartans, I'm Artist Wayne and welcome to episode 4, where things are getting serious with the Warthog. The chassis is built, the suspension is rolling, and I'm about to tackle one of the biggest and trickiest parts to this build. I plan to work from the front to the rear, and the biggest challenge yet, the Warthog's windscreen. Clear filament just won't cut it. So I'll be building this beast's windscreen from scratch, using scrap clear plastic packaging, just like I did with my Mad Max Interceptor build. But unlike that car, the Warthog's screen is a whole different beast. Its shape is complex, multi-angled, and it's going to push me to the limit. But hey, this is the UNSC. We don't back down from a challenge. Things were certainly moving along quickly now. Bonnet being printed? Well, half of the bonnet. Episode 4 is shaping up to be one for the UNSC archives. I was fabricating engine parts, bonnet assembly, side panels, crash bars, cockpit details, and roll cage. And the boss fight would be with that Warthog windscreen, which incidentally I have no idea how I am going to build. But when in doubt, continue forging ahead. Mission update. Phase 4 initiated. Power systems under construction. Engine components fabricated. Chassis armour advancing. Bonnet segmented and about to be reinforced. My mighty Warthog bonnet, which I had to slice and dice in Prusa Slicer, wasn't really going together as well as I would have liked. Not to worry though, my apoxie sculpt would soon fill in the gaps. My engine bay was undergoing environmental stress simulation. Surface weathering applied to replicate heat exposure, oil residue, and battlefield wear and tear. Metallic textures engaged. Result, operational authenticity increased. Once I finished weathering the engine parts, surface protocols were engaged. Armour plating undercoat applied for maximum durability. Structural imperfections were detected and filler was deployed, smoothing my panels to a combat-ready finish. Well, not too smooth, it is a war vehicle after all. The heart of the Warthog is its engine, powerful, raw and forged for war. Every burn mark, every scratch, every smear of oil and dust tells the story of a machine built not for display, but for survival. Another achievement unlocked. Getting primer onto these panels is such a rewarding step. The filler smooths out those little imperfections, and once the undercoat goes down, the whole Warthog really starts to look like a vehicle, not just a pile of 3D prints. Because even a Spartan's ride doesn't roll out of the factory flawless. Every surface must be reinforced. Every panel treated for endurance. Undercoat primer, the first line of defence against the battlefield ahead. This is where the real fun begins. Weathering the Warthog's panels. Clean paint just wouldn't feel right on a battle-tested Warthog. Adding dark washes, oil stains and textured highlights makes the whole thing come alive and look like it's been through years of UNSC service. Surface detailing protocols engaged. Identification markings applied. Black wash deployed for depth and battlefield authenticity. Caution stencils and hazard stripes would come next, because every mark on a Warthog serves a purpose. Stripes for recognition, warnings for safety, and weathering for truth. This isn't a showroom vehicle, this is a machine forged for combat, scarred by service and ready for deployment. Well, almost ready, I still had a long way to go. But at this stage, it's all about the detail. The stripes and the no-step stencils just scream military realism, while the black washes settle into the grooves and make the Warthog feel gritty, used and alive. It takes a lot of time, but it's the details that really sell the build. This was the moment my Warthog really started to look like the iconic Halo vehicle we all know. And after my Bonnet achievement, the floodgates were open. I was now able to print the Warthog's roll cage, cockpit parts, side panels, crash bars, and get everything ready for painting and assembling. All that juicy surface detailing was now engaged. Black wash applied to armour panels, stress fractures simulated, exterior coating weathered to combat conditions. With every piece, authenticity was increasing. No Warthog survives combat unscathed. Every scuff, every scratch, every mark tells the story of survival. These panels are no longer just armour, they are history written in steel. The black wash really brings out all the detail in these panels, sinking into the cracks and making the Warthog feel used and battle worn. Of course, stressing the edges adds that touch of realism. This thing looks like it's actually seen service with the UNSC. All I had to do now was clean up each of the cockpit pieces and my installation phase could be initiated. This is where the Warthog really comes alive. I had my cockpit, side panels, crash bars and roll cage all ready to slide into place. The payoff for all the earlier grinding work. Cockpit was now deployed and side armour was being secured. Piece by piece my Warthog was transforming. No longer a collection of parts, this was a war machine finding its shape. After all the sanding, painting and prep work, this part is so satisfying. Everything just clicks into place, and with every panel and roll bar installed, the Warthog looks more and more like the Halo icon we all know. Roll bars and cage integrated, assembly efficiency optimal, structural integrity rising. Now I moved on to the Warthog's headlight fabrication. Unconventional materials were engaged. Scrap plastic repurposed, reflective foil deployed. Improvised battlefield solution, I'd like to say successful, but I wasn't quite happy with the result. And then I found something in the garage. Bit of an update on the headlights because I used a bit of scrap plastic, but I've just been in the garage and found these old Christmas lights. I don't think Wife Jackie knows we've got these, so I'm thinking of cutting that off and using that I think that'll work a treat. Every Spartan knows you make do with what you have. Plastic, scraps, foil, whatever it takes. Even the smallest details bring the Warthog closer to life. But the true challenge still lies ahead. Because my critical objective still remained. The Warthog's windscreen. Geometry? Complex. Solution? Unknown. Spartan ingenuity was required. And that, my fellow 3D printers, is when an idea hit me like a lightning bolt. Field solution was initiated as I printed the Warthog's windscreen in silver filament. This would be my framework as I cut out 3 windows. I got the big guns out. Who knows if this will work, but it's worth a try. I still don't have any plastic large enough to do the front windscreen, but once I take all these pieces out, 1, 2 and 3, I'll try and insert clear plastic windows, then paint all this black. All of this gets done black, so we'll see how that goes. I think it could work. Alright, I just have to clean this up, find some plastic large enough to make that front windscreen, and I am done. I think this will do the trick. Windscreen fabrication was in progress. Standard clear print ineffective. Alternative strategy initiated. Structural frame cut from filament print. No two Warthogs are the same. In the field, engineers adapt, cutting frames, bolting plates, sealing glass. What began as compromise becomes a mark of combat ingenuity. This windscreen is forged, not printed. And for the piece de resistance, well, I printed and glued onto my framework around 60 bolt heads. Micro detail protocols were initiated. Structural bolt heads separated from primary model using Prusa slicer. Individual components fabricated, scaled, and manually installed along framework. Precision extreme. Authenticity rating elevated. Gluing each one of these bolt heads into place was tedious, but man, it really adds that level of authenticity. It's those small details that take a build from great to genius. Roll cage and framework, paint protocols complete. Side windows were identified and materials secured. Installation was imminent. Front windscreen, critical challenge detected. Dimensions oversized. Materials unavailable. Status unresolved. Every piece brings the Warthog closer to life. The cage is painted, the frame hardened, and the side windows are ready. But looming ahead is the true test. The front windscreen. Bigger, more complex, and with no clear solution, pardon the pun, the battlefield awaits. And although I had no clear plastic for the front window yet, I had plenty of scrap plastic for the smaller side windows. So my side window fabrication was initiated, because in the field, nothing is wasted. Scrap becomes armour, resin becomes sealant. The smaller windows slot into place, sealed tight against the elements. Each detail brings this Warthog closer to combat readiness. Scrap plastic repurposed, panels cut to specification and secured, epoxy sculpt resin applied to edges, battlefield seal achieved, authenticity rating increased. So this step went pretty smoothly. Once I cut my scrap plastic pieces and glued them in, I used 2-part epoxy sculpt to caulk the edges. It really sold the realism, the kind of detail that makes the Warthog look like a vehicle that could actually be deployed. Honestly, this was looking even more badass than I imagined. However, my big boss battle was still looming ahead. That front windscreen. When all hope was lost, I found some clear packaging for the Warthog's windscreen. In fact, I found enough clear packaging to do 3 Warthog windscreens. What a relief, because this windscreen was definitely my toughest challenge yet. But with some clear plastic packaging, careful cutting and gluing, and epoxy sculpt to seal it in, my Warthog was finally going to look complete. My critical objective was about to be achieved. Front windscreen installation was almost complete. Clear plastic panels sourced, cut and secured. Epoxy caulking applied. Battlefield seal confirmed. Mission status: success. Authenticity rating: maximum. With a little Spartan ingenuity, this challenge was conquered. The beast now wears its armour proudly. What a milestone! Mission report? Episode 4 is complete. How good is that? My Warthog's chassis is assembled, panels painted, cockpit installed, and windscreen secured. In the end, Spartan ingenuity prevailed. Vehicle authentication unmatched. My next objective: rear assembly, tailgate integration, external fuel systems, and primary armament, the M41 Vulcan cannon. Spartans, prepare to deploy. I'm artist Wayne Dowsent. Happy 3D printing, and thanks for watching, everyone.